Hi, bud. Hey guys, this is Cash the Collie, and today's video is going to be of him being groomed. So he gets a Deshed package, which includes a Deshed bath, extra time with the high velocity forced air dryer, and lots of extra brushing to make sure that I remove all of the undercoat that he has that's ready to come out. And I give him a nice trim up all over. I trim his feet, trim his feathers, his belly, his ears, and his tail. So today's video obviously starts with his bath, and he is getting a Deshed bath, so it starts with Deshed shampoo. You can see for heavy coated dogs like a rough collie, I actually start with their face and I do their whole face first without even wetting the rest of their body, and that's just because if you wet their whole body, then they're going to shake and then their face isn't going to be wet anymore. So when they're big heavy coated dogs that might be prone to shaking, I kind of work my way through them in the bathtub by section. So I'll do like the head, I'll do the chest, and then I'll start working my way down the body, but I'll just kind of do it front half first, then back half, flip them around, and same thing on the other side. I'm also going to be using my Zoom Groom here on him a lot. The Kong Zoom Grooms are so great for heavy double-coated breeds like a rough collie. It really helps get your product down next to their skin, loosen up all their undercoat that needs to come out during today's grooming, and it just saves your hand a bit too. So instead of your hand having to do the scrubbing, the Zoom Groom does it for you, and it does it better. So I can't recommend that product more. Alright, I'm going to speed up the clip of Cash getting his bath. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy. Okay guys, just wanted to pop in here and show you how much hair this Zoom Groom actually does take off just in the bathtub. So I slowed down the clip here for a second to show you how the Zoom Groom works. You can see how I'm scrubbing him with it after I have the shampoo, and look at all of that hair. So that is just, of course, a little tiny bit of the hair that comes off using the Zoom Groom. So again, love that product. It's amazing. It helps so much. Back to the video. Hey guys, just jumping in here again to give you another clip of how the Zoom Groom works. So after I put the conditioner on the dog and I'm about to rinse it out, I actually get my Zoom Groom out again and use it to help remove all of the product from the bath, and also a final time to help loosen and remove all of that undercoat to help with my blow drying and to lessen the brush out time. So you can see the Zoom Groom really helps squeegee out the shampoo in the hair. If you look closely where I lift up the Zoom Groom, there's a lot of undercoat there that I can just rinse off instead of having to brush out later. So really nice product, and I thought you might just enjoy learning about another way that I use it. Jumping in here again just to let you know, the reason why Cash wears a happy hoodie, which is the towel looking thing around his head, is because he is pretty noise sensitive. So he actually doesn't mind the blow dryer as far as the forced air goes, like some dogs get nervous about. I think Cash is more sensitive to the sound of the blow dryer, and that's pretty common. Sometimes even just reducing the sound in general can help calm them down. And then another great benefit of the Happy Hoodie is it actually helps dry the hair that's in the area that you use it on. So for dogs who don't like their face or ears blown dry, it is such a great product and it helps dry those areas for you. So I dried Cash like this in the bathtub for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I usually blow dry big heavy coated breeds like this in the tub first just to knock off the bulk of the water, and then I'll put them up on the grooming table and start doing a little bit more finished drying, which you see here. So here I am trying to get Cash up on the table. Luckily he jumped right up for me, which was such a relief, so I didn't have to pick him up. I also use this time just to talk to the dog, tell him that they're a good boy in this case, and just help him relax because we still have a lot of grooming to do. So once I get them out of the tub and I've blown off the majority of the water, I use a leave-in conditioner, which is really nice to help detangle and demat all of the remaining undercoat that I need to get out. So this one is a marshmallow-based conditioner. It's so nice, especially for the coarse collie coat that he has. And if you notice, I was using a pin brush to help lift up his top coat so that my conditioner is able to get onto the undercoat, which is really what it needs to get on in the end. So now I'm using a firm slicker brush to go over his entire body, getting out any remaining undercoat that might be in there, and also just detangling, dematting, and making his coat as nice and sleek as possible. If you notice, he is still quite damp, so although I had blown him dry for about 15 or 20 minutes at this point, his collie coat does hold a lot of water, so it does take a long time to dry. In fact, his groom takes me about a total of 3 hours from start to finish. And I would say about 2 hours, maybe even a little bit more than that, is spent strictly in the tub, getting brushed out, and then his final blow dry. So the actual finish combing and trimming does not take very long at all. A lot of the work is spent in the bathtub and with the blow dryer. So now I am getting him all brushed out with that slicker. You can see how much undercoat I am taking out, and that is just with a slicker brush and going once over the dog. So that's still a lot of hair that's left in there even after a Deshed bath, Deshed conditioner, and about 15 to 20 minutes of blow drying. So lots and lots of work to groom a rough collie, but he's so fun to groom. I really enjoy grooming him, and that's what makes it worth it. So now that Cash is all brushed out, it's time to clip his nails. I like to do this just as a way to break up the brushing and blow drying. Cash really does not like getting his nails trimmed. You can see his body is very tense, his breathing has kind of gotten a little heavy, and you do want to be mindful of these things. Cash is a young, healthy dog, but sometimes older dogs that can get really stressed. You want to just be mindful that you are letting them know they're a good dog and taking breaks if you need them. So now Cash is really nicely brushed out, his nails have been trimmed, and it's time to blow dry him. Make sure he's totally dry. So I've actually taken the nozzle off of the blow dryer so it's a little bit more finishing drying instead of high velocity drying. And I'm going to use a pin brush and I'm just going to go over his entire body with the blow dryer, looking for spots where the hair is extra thick that I need to really brush out, and then also checking for areas that might still be quite wet and need to be dried. Leaving areas wet on heavy double coated breeds like this can lead to things like hot spots, skin irritation, and can really help contribute to developing mats in those areas. So it's really important that you get them entirely dry and entirely brushed out, even though, of course, that takes a long time and a lot of work. So while you watch me dry Cash, I just wanted to mention how proud I am of Cash for being so calm and relaxed because I started grooming him probably about 6 months or so ago. I don't remember exactly, but the first time I ever groomed him, he was so anxious and he barked nearly the entire time he was getting blown dry. And you can see how he gets a little irritated when the dryer's up around his face. When I first started grooming him, he would be snapping and barking and just going crazy at the blow dryer. I wouldn't even be able to do this at all. It was obnoxious for everyone in the salon to hear him barking. It was really stressful for the other dogs because Cash was so stressed out and giving off those vibes. And it was just an overall not pleasant experience for anybody, including Cash. So I'm so proud of him because he has improved so much since I started grooming him. He's so much more relaxed, happy, he knows what's going to happen, and he's not anxious or fearful anymore. His owners have done a really good job of bringing him in regularly so that Cash and I form a relationship. You can see that he's really sweet, and I think he enjoys coming to see me now. He knows it's not a scary place to go, and I really enjoy grooming him too. So, definitely with the right groomer, an anxious dog can form a good relationship and not be so fearful of grooming. And it's so nice to see the hard work pay off and have such a nice time grooming a once very difficult dog. Instead of, maybe being stressed out on days when he was on my schedule, I actually very much look forward to seeing him now. So, really nice to see, and I thought I would share that little tidbit. You can see Cash is really starting to look beautiful. His coat is coming together, and I wanted to mention too that this is not necessarily the same grooming techniques that you would use if you were showing your collie. So I do not do any show collie grooming. I'm only most familiar with their grooming needs as a pet. And as a pet, you're going to trim off a lot of their excess feathering and take out a lot of their undercoat that you might otherwise leave if you were showing the dog and wanted them to be in full coat. But when they are a pet, some of the priorities are cleanliness and helping the dog not shed all over the house. So this is pet grooming for a rough collie. For show grooming, you would leave them quite a bit more natural, and so I just thought I would mention that there is a difference. So if you see a lot of the heavy trimming that I do on Cash, that is not necessarily the same trimming that would be done on a show collie, but it works best for Cash and his owners. Okay, so I'm going to speed up the footage here. This is just me blow drying and combing out all of those thick areas of undercoat, like his pants and his tail, his feathers, his belly, just making sure that everything is as nice as possible here. You can see I do switch between my tools quite a bit. I'll use a pin brush, a slicker brush, and a comb, and it just kind of depends what I need in that area at that time. When I'm getting ready to do my trimming and my final grooming, I use mostly a comb just to make sure that everything is even, neat, brushed out, and ready to be trimmed. You notice I'm not really getting any hair out with my brush anymore. So in the beginning, I was getting so much hair, gobs and gobs of hair out with a brush. But now that I've done all that work, there's really not much hair coming out with a comb anymore. And so that is really a clear sign that I've done a good job and the groom is nearing its end. There's a light at the end of the tunnel of this. This is probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes into the groom at this point. So lots of work and a little bit more to be done still. So, although I have gone over his entire body with my comb, I'm going to start from the very top again. So, right around his cheeks, around his neck. I take the noose off because that's the only way to really get in those areas. And those areas are really prone to matting to begin with, so you don't want to let them go ungroomed. It's easy to maybe avoid those areas and send a dog home with damp ears, but it's just not a really good idea, especially for a really thick-coated breed like this. So I make sure that I comb out every little bit of the dog that I can. So I usually work in sections, so as I get his chest all combed out, I'm going to take my big thinning scissors and start just shaping up his hair. Again, Cash is a really well-maintained collie, so I don't have any major bulk clipping or thinning to do. I'm just neatening him up. He was here about maybe 6 weeks prior to this appointment, so there's not a ton of trimming to do, just neatening his edges, making him look fresh and clean. And then I'm going to do the same thing on his belly and on his feathers. On his pants, I do take quite a bit of hair off and neaten them a lot more than, say, other areas. And again, that's just for sanitary reasons to keep him as clean as possible. A lot of times I use my clippers on his inner thighs and on his pants with a clipper comb. I think I used a 7/8 clipper comb. I maybe used a 5/8 one. I can't remember for sure. Just to really shorten up and neaten up his inside thighs and pants. It really helps reduce the matting, gets him able to go a little bit longer in between appointments, and of course it does help keep those areas clean too. So I just run my clipper comb all over his inner thighs and down his pants to get the bulk of the hair off, and then I go back with my comb and my thinning scissors to blend in all of the areas that were clipped to the areas that weren't. And I promise it sounds a little silly, but it actually works wonders, and it's really nice in the end, and you'll see a good picture of what I'm talking about here in a few moments. So unfortunately, I somehow lost all the footage of me trimming up Cash's feet and ears and that sort of thing. So here he is, all finished. He is totally done. You can see how nice his pants look. They're nice and neat and trimmed. His underbelly is nice and neat. His feathers are trimmed, his ears are trimmed, and he is just looking beautiful. Here he is, all done, posing for a fancy photo. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already.